Dolphins week. You've got to love it. You have to love the reunion. You have to love the fact that the Dolphins are coming in with what I think might be the best offense in football. I think some of the numbers back that up. And you have to love the fact that the 49ers have a chance at atonement. Just consider this: a little over a month ago, late October, the 49ers hosted the Chiefs. We're still talking about the 49ers as an elite defense at that time. And the Chiefs embarrassed them. The Chiefs scored touchdowns on 6 of 7 possessions. And the only thing that stopped that from being 7 of 7 possessions was a penalty flag and then halftime. Because the Chiefs scored right before halftime. They were in the end zone, but a flag called that play back. And then they had to settle for a field goal attempt right before the end of half. So it would have been 7 of 7. The 49ers could not stop Kansas City. That was the last time that they faced an elite offense. Fast forward 4 games for the 49ers. They played 4 since then, and their defense has cobbled it back together. They found a way to figure things out, at least in the second half. There's been some leakiness in the first half of some of these games, but the 49ers are just the 8th team since the AFL-NFL merger to have shut out its opposition in 4 straight games in the second half. So they're obviously doing something right. They're getting the praise of guys like Michael Irvin, who's saying that you can compare these 49ers to the Ray Lewis Ravens. And I'm not so sure about that yet. I have an article coming out on The Athletic tomorrow. It's going to drop in the morning. That's going to compare the 49ers defense to the 2019 unit. And we know in 2019, it was the first 12 weeks before guys started getting hurt where they were truly overpowering. So I also split it up into that. I said, hey, what does this defense look like in relation to the start of the 2019 season? That's what Greg Papa used to call the gold rush, right? Where are the 49ers in relation to that? And spoiler alert, they're still a little bit short of that. They're playing really well right now, but I think that's good news for 49ers fans. I think there's still meat left on the bone, especially since this guy, Eric Armstead, is going to be potentially back for this week. The 49ers have been looking at this week for a while to return Eric Armstead. So why don't I show you a video? Why don't we look at Eric Armstead at practice for the 49ers today? Here he is, stretching out, looking nice and strong. Eric Armstead has been dealing with the plantar fasciitis in the foot and then obviously a chip in the fibula. I think that both of those have healed a while ago. But plantar fasciitis is something that if you start working it too hard, if you get out there on an NFL field, especially with the size of Eric Armstead's frame, if you're doing some explosive moves off the ball, it can come back. And I think that was an issue when he did come back against the Rams back in week 4. So Armstead was out at practice getting his helmet fixed there. I mentioned Christian McCaffrey in the title right underneath me, so I'm going to rewind really fast. There's Christian McCaffrey. We'll pause it right there. You see him. There's Christian back with his helmet on. Now, everybody's like, wait, I thought Christian McCaffrey didn't practice. Technically, he didn't. McCaffrey was out there for walkthrough, and he was walking back in from walkthrough to the weight room to wherever he was going. So he didn't practice. He's dealing with that knee bothersome knee issue. I don't know, knee irritation, I guess, is the term that the 49ers are using. But the fact that Christian was at walkthrough is a positive for the 49ers. The fact that he was out there wearing his jersey and also wearing his helmet and not having to get training and treatment for the knee during the walkthrough shows me that the 49ers have a situation on their hands with Christian McCaffrey of knee irritation that they're probably just going to try to manage throughout the rest of this season. And if you manage it throughout the week and he shows up on Sundays and plays and dominates and helps you win, I think everybody will take that plan. And the early indications are that that is indeed the plan with Christian McCaffrey. Anyway, there's Armstead working out, moving around. This is just stretching during the pre-practice warm-ups in a little bit, which is right now. We've got Eric Armstead doing a little bit of jumping. 49ers doing loose ball drills. You can see he's getting that big 6'7", 6'8", 300-pound frame off the ground. So that was Eric Armstead at practice today. Wanted to share the video with you. The reason I brought Eric Armstead up is, well, the 49ers are going to very likely get this guy back for this game against the Dolphins. That's been the plan for a while. And I think when we talk about the gap that the 49ers defense is trying to bridge from its 2019 version to now, if they want to be just as good as that 2019 team, you'll see in the article that comes out tomorrow, it's the pass rush that needs to be better. The 49ers are looking to improve their pass rush. It hasn't been quite as overpowering as it was in their prime, at their peak in 2019. And a big part of the reason is that they've been missing Eric Armstead. Somebody tweeted at me today, I'm old enough to remember when people said that Eric Armstead was trash, incorrectly, obviously. The most casual take of all time was that Eric Armstead wasn't a good player, wasn't an impactful player. He's making what, 17 to 18 million a year, and he is worth every penny when you look at tape and you look at the impact that he's had. Snowplow is the definition, or the not the definition. Snowplow is the comparison, right? The analogy that I use to describe Eric Armstead's play, because he's got the 6'7", 6'8" frame. He has the 300 pounds. He has the massive wingspan, and he leverages that to rush the passer, usually on the inside, so effectively. He just clears space for guys. Nick Bosa was talking about how he can't wait for Eric Armstead to get back because Eric Armstead clears such an obscene amount of space. So the 49ers pass rush has been a little bit worse. Remember, only one sack against the Saints. We can talk about the altitude for a week that they experienced in Colorado Springs and the late arrival from Mexico City in the short week, all this and all that. But the point is that personnel-wise, they just haven't been as good without Armstead. And with Armstead back in the fold, the edge rushers are going to benefit big time. And you look at the matchup against the Miami Dolphins in this defining game, Teron Armstead, so this is an Armstead squared kind of situation because Teron Armstead is the Dolphins left tackle. He tore his pectoral muscle, and supposedly he's telling people he's going to play this weekend. I'm not sure that I believe it, but even if he does play, Teron Armstead is going to be a compromised player. And Austin Jackson, the starting right tackle for the Miami Dolphins, isn't going to play in all likelihood. So they're likely going to be on at least one compromised offensive tackle, a starter, and one backup, or they're going to be on two backup offensive tackles, the Miami Dolphins. And the 49ers, this is their opportunity in this game. The Dolphins' offensive line, even with Teron Armstead, has not been good this season. Tua Tagovailoa has made it work because of a 2.6 second average snap to release, a quick game. But the 49ers are probably the best defense that the Dolphins have faced or will face this season. And good defenses, and I mean great defenses, the 49ers want to prove that they're great. They're going to have to show up in this game on that side of the ball. Great defenses can beat you and have to beat you in more than one way. It's not just going to be pass rush. It's going to be a symbiotic relationship. It's going to be coverage fueling that pass rush. And to beat the Dolphins and to slow down this offense, coverage is going to have to fuel the rush because of the text right underneath me. 2.6 seconds is a very quick average snap to release. And that means that there's going to be a lot of scheme stuff early from Mike McDaniel to his very fast receivers, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, maybe even to some of his fast players out of the backfield. We know Raheem Mostert was limited in practice today. And they're going to get that ball out quickly to neutralize the 49ers pass rush. The 49ers need to dissuade and discourage the Miami Dolphins from going to the quick game all too much. Because that's when you force Tua Tagovailoa to sit back in the pocket, not necessarily every down, but, on at least a handful of downs, you give your pass rushers, which will now presumably include Eric Armstead, a chance to get after the quarterback and get after an offensive line that's really struggled for Miami. And that's where you can register the game-changing plays, the sacks, the takeaways, you name it. Now, Tua's been really good at avoiding the takeaways. He's also been really good at avoiding sacks, despite the fact that his offensive line has struggled. He knows how to move within the pocket, which makes it all the more important for the 49ers to deliver a pass rush on their own terms, because you're going to have to deliver that pass rush in disciplined fashion. You're going to have to stay in your rushing lanes. You're going to have to contain the pocket. You're going to have to make sure that Tua can't step around all willy-nilly and deliver on the run. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that he's been elite at this season. Tua Tagovailoa has been the most efficient quarterback in football by a country mile, and it's going to take an all-around 49ers defensive effort to contain that. The coverage is going to have to be there to fuel the rush, and the rush is going to have to be there to fuel the coverage. And that is why I think this is the defining moment for the 49ers, because I started this show saying that on October 23rd, 5 weeks ago, the 49ers were outclassed by the Chiefs. The 49ers defense delivered its worst performance of the Shanahan-Lynch era. It was the worst performance by a 49ers defense since the dark days of the mid-2000s. And ever since then, they've picked up the pieces, and they've shown us that that might have been an aberration against the Chiefs. Well, you know what? This against Miami, an offense that is rated even better than Kansas City's when Tua's been healthy, this is a chance at atonement. This is a chance for the 49ers to prove that was an aberration. It reminds me a little bit of last season. Last season, the 49ers defense did not have a good showing in week 3 against the Green Bay Packers at home, and they lost that game against the Packers at home in week 3. The 49ers, fast forward 3 months in the playoffs, divisional round, ice storm, snowstorm, Lambeau Field had a chance at atonement, and they delivered on it. So this, can be viewed similarly. It's not the same team. It's only 5 weeks apart this time, the Chiefs game and the Dolphins game. But again, it's an elite offense. The Chiefs are a top 2 offense. The Dolphins are a top 2 offense. And this is a chance to show for the 49ers that they are ready for this stretch run by beating down a team that's been scoring 30 plus on a whole heck of a lot of other teams. All right, guys, I have to show you this. This is a reunion with Mike McDaniel, whose style has gotten decidedly more Miami over his time with the Dolphins. That's Mike McDaniel on the right. That's not Mike McDaniel on the left. That's Mark Anthony. That's the pop artist, Mark Anthony, and Mike McDaniel's on the right. So McDaniel's going with the suave Miami look with the aviator shades, and he didn't look like that with the 49ers. Mike McDaniel definitely has upgraded the look to fit the locale. So it's going to be a nice reunion with an old friend. Kyle Shanahan was telling a bunch of stories about Mike McDaniel today, and he called him his computer. He was the computer of the 49ers operation because he would just have such an awesome callback memory. He'd know exactly what the 49ers ran out of what formation against this team 2 years ago against this defense. That kind of stuff is valuable in an offense that has a ton of different variables, in an offense that's trying to play chess while the defensive coordinators are playing checkers. Mike McDaniel was that resource on the 49ers staff. He really was a genius on that 49ers staff. So it's no surprise to anybody in the 49ers building that he's had this kind of success with the Miami Dolphins so far. But it's, I was talking about this on the podcast, by the way. Our podcast episode, Here's the Catch, is out right now, so you can go and check it out. It is on my Twitter feed. This is one of the prices of having success in the NFL, and the 49ers franchise is very familiar with it. Bill Walsh produced a massive coaching tree. Bill Walsh also believed in the spirit of abundance, and that was as assistants left to go take head coaching jobs elsewhere, Bill Walsh would literally give them a binder of everything that he had learned as a coach and said, hey, take this with you and go be successful elsewhere. That was his spirit of abundance. Bill Walsh didn't try to, hold on to state secrets and try to screw guys over on their way out the door. He believed that positivity would come back to him and by extension the 49ers if he shelved it out. So the 49ers, on a more zoomed in scale, if you talk to somebody like Steve Young, were very frustrated by this mentality because later on, especially in the 90s, when the Green Bay Packers were beating them repeatedly, it was Mike Holmgren, Green Bay's coach, who was using a lot of the 49ers principles against them. Mike Holmgren was the 49ers quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator back under Bill Walsh, and Bill Walsh gave him the binder. And he said, hey, good luck. Go kick ass in Green Bay. Here's the binder. Here are all of our secrets. Well, fast forward to the 1997 NFC Championship game. Mike Holmgren gives a speech, pregame speech at Candlestick Park to the Green Bay Packers. The Packers end up beating the 49ers. Bill Walsh is retired by this point. He's not a coach anymore. After the game, Steve Young asks Brett Favre, what speech did Mike Holmgren give you guys before this game? And Brett Favre tells Steve Young the speech. And it turned out that it was the same exact speech that Bill Walsh had given the 49ers several years before. So Bill Walsh had taken Mike Holmgren had taken what he'd learned from Bill Walsh and applied it to beat the 49ers, and Steve Young wanted to rip his hair out. This is how the NFL works. If you're good, your secrets are going to go elsewhere. Guys are going to get hired. Coordinators are going to become head coaches. And with Mike McDaniel right now, we have an example of just that. The 49ers are going to have to turn around and they're going to have to face their own. They're going to have to face not only a head coach, but some assistants that they've developed in the past. Wes Welker, receivers coach for the Dolphins. John Embry, tight ends coach for the Dolphins. And then obviously you have Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Trent Sherfield. I believe River Craycraft is with Miami. So it's I called it a family fight. And that's what Steve Young called it, between the 49ers and the Packers in the 90s, when you had so much intermingling between coaching staffs because of all of that osmosis, right? Well, here, this could end up being a family fight too. It probably will never become 49ers Packers unless they play in the Super Bowl for multiple straight seasons. But since the Dolphins are in the AFC, the likelihood of them facing the 49ers isn't all too high. But I got a kick out of that. Mike McDaniel looking like Mark Antony. He's got that Miami style down. We talk about a Dolphins' weakness in this game. I know I've just been talking about how great Miami's offense is, and it's really good, even though they've had some issues up front, which I think the 49ers can capitalize on if they can force Tua to hold on to the ball a little bit longer than those 2.6 seconds. But the weakness lies on the other side of the football. Miami's number 25 in pass defense DVOA. They have struggled against the pass. Their defensive backs have struggled. Their corners, Xavier Howard, he's struggled this year. Across the safety position, they've had some issues as well. This Miami team can be thrown on. And we know that the 49ers are better passing than they are running the football. Miami is not a stonewalling running defense. It's just that the pass defense ranks near the bottom of the league. And the 49ers, we've seen some unprecedented stuff over the course of the past 2 weeks, with Jimmy Garoppolo throwing on 14 of 15 dropbacks to close the first half against Arizona, and then throwing a record for him and for Shanahan, a record 28 times in the first half against New Orleans. The 49ers have finally started to embrace the pass first mentality, pass to set up the run. And it may have to be that way against the Dolphins, whose pass defense isn't all too great. It's going to depend on how they align, right? And it's also going to depend on the health of the 49ers running backs room. You might not have Christian McCaffrey. You probably will, but you might not have him. You certainly won't have Elijah Mitchell. Is it going to be Jordan Mason for the 49ers? Probably. See some of him. Maybe get Tevin Coleman called up. Ty Davis-Price. Those are your options. And obviously, Deebo Samuel might get his share of carries as well. So the 49ers have plenty of weapons, but they have to distribute them correctly. The good news for them is that this Miami team does not have a good defense. The defense is below average. In fact, why don't we take a look at the team tier matchup here? Let's see where the 49ers are. Let's see where the Dolphins are. And I think that's going to really help illustrate what this game is all about. So rbsdm.com, that's Ben Baldwin's site. We will put on our week filter. We'll filter this to when Jimmy Garoppolo took over for the 49ers. And I'm going to toss it up on the screen. And we'll see both 49ers and Dolphins on our glorious XY axis. All right, you ready for it? I hope you are, because there it is. And here we go. Oh, it disappeared. My bad. Let it load. Site can be a little bit funky. There we are. Okay, so tier 1 teams. So this is since week 2, since Jimmy Garoppolo took over as starter. X-axis is offense. Y-axis is defense. The goal is to be up and to the right. Look at the 49ers, Cowboys, and Eagles. They're in the same spot. That's like the Spider-Man pointing at himself kind of meme, or the other version of himself kind of meme. 49ers, Eagles, and Cowboys are good two-way teams. Those are your NFC favorites right now, by the way. Betting-wise, it's the Eagles and the 49ers on top. Look over here. This is where the Dolphins are. They're far to the right offensively since week 2. Now, this includes games without Tua Tagovailoa. If you factor out the games without him, they're even ahead of the Chiefs offensively. But anyway, elite offense for the Miami Dolphins. But this is the average line defensively, the X-axis. The Dolphins have a below-average defense. Because of that, they're a tier below the 49ers. And because of that, the 49ers are favored in this game by 4 points over the Dolphins. The betting public loves the 49ers. 49ers opened up 3.5-point favorites. Now they're 4-point favorites. And it's because of the fact that I think people view the 49ers as a two-way team and the Dolphins only as a one-way team. So the 49ers have to take advantage of the fact that they're a two-way team and that the Dolphins so far have only been a one-way team by exposing Miami's secondary. The DBs for this Miami Dolphin team have been suspect. It's as simple as that. The DBs have been suspect. The pass rush has gotten better over time. They traded for Bradley Chubb from the Broncos. So, I mean, the 49ers will see Chubb twice this year. Miami's going to run a 3-4 front. Chubb's going to come from one of those outside linebacker positions. You have to block him. You have to block the other guys. They have Jalen Phillips coming off the other edge. He leads this team in sacks. So there are dangerous players on this Miami defense. But by and large, this is a below average unit, as you saw in that team tier chart, and the 49ers have to take care of business. When you look at the secondary for Miami, Xavier Howard had a really good year a couple of years ago. He's not having a good year this year. Noah Igbinoghene, and I know that name is one of the toughest to pronounce in football. He's on the opposite side of the formation at cornerback. He's also struggled a little bit this year. I still remember he came into the game against the 49ers a couple seasons ago with not great metrics, and Garoppolo was hurt that game. They weren't really able to take advantage of it. Then you have a couple safeties in Eric Rowe and Javon Holland. And Rowe's been okay this year. He's generated turnovers. There's been decent play from at least one of those safety spots. But by and large, looking through that entire secondary, there have been yards given up. There have been points given up. There have been touchdown passes given up. I mean, it's a situation where the 49ers should have enough weapons to move the ball through the air against the Dolphins. One thing that the 49ers will have to do better than last week, and this applies to the rest of the season, they have to pass protect better. And it's probably going to be Daniel Brunskill in there at right guard instead of Spencer Burford, who didn't practice on Wednesday. But the 49ers have pass protected well all season long in general, except for the game against the Saints. They gave up a 41% pressure rate, and they almost got their quarterback hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo needs more time. He's going to need more clean pockets for this offense to be able to deliver what they might need to deliver to outscore the Dolphins, because, stuff operates on a gradient in the NFL. It's not always going to be this offense scores 30-plus points or this defense is going to shut everybody out. The 49ers might have a great defense. We'll find out this weekend. But even if they have a great defense, they might give up more than 20 points against the Dolphins. It's just how much speed is on the field for Miami. So if that's the case, the 49ers offense is going to have to be ready to play some complimentary football and score more than Miami. If you listen to our Here's the Catch podcast, my initial prediction is 30-27 49ers. I reserve the right to change that because I'm still studying this game. But Miami looked like two different football teams last week against the Texans. Miami was awesome in the first half. They built a 27-0 lead, and then they looked terrible in the second half. And I think a lot of it was attributed to the fact that the offensive line did cave in on itself, and the Texans did come back a little bit in that game. Which Miami will we see? Maybe a little bit of both. The 49ers want to make it look more like second half Miami against the Houston Texans from last week. So on that front, we shall see. I don't have any more talking points, so I'm going to open it up to some questions here. 49ers Dolphins, a defining moment for San Francisco. Very possibly. And in the article it's coming out tomorrow morning, I will take a look at some of that. Oh my God, Gone Sovereign, thank you. I just saw your question. I don't know how to put it up on the screen, sorry, because it scrolled down a little bit. But his question is, do the 49ers re-sign Jimmy Garoppolo? Oh, there it is, thanks. The 49ers re-sign Jimmy Garoppolo. I say either way, yes, says Gone Sovereign. I mean, if they win the Super Bowl and he continues playing like he is right now, doesn't get hurt, yes. I was saying this on the show yesterday. It's an obvious re-sign of Jimmy Garoppolo. If it's something in between that and him not playing another down the rest of this season, then you start talking, right? I think that he's already at this point earned himself enough respect elsewhere to where he's going to get a good deal from somebody else. So the 49ers, they're only going to try to afford this if it's like a slam dunk worth it, right? Like you're going to have to move around some deck chairs to fit Jimmy Garoppolo's contract, and it better be worth your time if you're going to move those deck chairs around in terms of the salary cap, which is why I'm saying Super Bowl is obvious. Anything else? Well, I mean, you're going to next season with an unknown in Trey Lance coming off of the broken ankle, right? In all likelihood, if they don't win the Super Bowl, if they just go somewhere in the playoffs and they lose, Garoppolo gets more money elsewhere. He'll be happier elsewhere with a bigger contract. He's got to take care of himself first and foremost. And the 49ers sign a legitimate veteran. And I don't know who that would be at this point, but you sign somebody who you could better afford, but to insulate you from the uncertainty that is Trey Lance. All right, thank you for that. 52 subscribers till 24K, 24 karat gold subscribers. Nice. I like that. So, yeah, listen to Mike there. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. I'm putting up dinner for you guys right now. By the way, what should I eat for dinner? It's getting late, but I need to figure out what to eat for dinner. I had an In-N-Out burger for lunch. Will Trey Lance play again this year, or do they stay with Garoppolo? They'll stay with Garoppolo. I mean, even Lance not going to be ready to play from a medical perspective based on everything we've heard. But if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, he is better than Trey Lance right now. It's as simple as that. The hope for Trey Lance had been that he would develop over the course of the year and become the better option by the playoffs. But that went out the window when he got hurt. There's been no developmental time. Meanwhile, Jimmy Garoppolo has taken his game to the next level. So he's unquestionable. Jimmy Garoppolo is unquestionably the best quarterback on the 49ers right now. That will guide decisions for this season. The salary cap then gets involved for next season. So it's going to be a much more complicated balancing act. As Mike said, Lance won't be ready to play till February. That is the current timetable, and that's what both Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have repeated right now. So there's no indication that's going to be anything different as we speak today. Yeah, that question is a little bit annoying, as Tony says, but I got to answer it, right? I got to answer it. Will the 49ers be able to re-sign Jimmy Ward? I don't know, how intensely they're going to pursue re-signing Jimmy Ward. He just came out and said the other day that they haven't offered him a contract. It's all going to depend on how they envision this defense building moving forward. In all likelihood, Deshaun Gibson's just a 1-year thing at the safety position, right? He is an older player. So maybe you want Jimmy to move back to safety and be your safety moving forward. You do like his versatility. Let's just see how this season will play out, because I think that's what the 49ers are doing with Jimmy Ward. Using him at nickelback right now because that's where he has to be out of necessity. I know they like the flexibility, but for a longer term picture, they probably would prefer him at that safety position. This is a interesting prediction. Ward is gone, probably falls DeMeco Ryans. I mean, and you saw a lot of players follow Mike McDaniel. You saw players follow Robert Saleh to the New York Jets. So when DeMeco Ryans gets a head coaching job, and it's probably a matter of when, not if it does happen this offseason, you might see a little bit of a following there, and maybe Jimmy Ward, who will be a free agent, will be one of those players. Do I feel that the signing of Janoris Jenkins is to shore up that DB spot because the 49ers lost Mosley and Verrett? Yeah, I mean, basically Janoris Jenkins replaced Kadar Hallman as the 49ers practice squad cornerback. But as we know, the practice squad can play. You can call those guys up a maximum of 3 times before you have to permanently elevate them to the 53-man roster. So you're just trying to make the team as deep as possible. Now, Janoris Jenkins is 34 years old, but as I was informed today, he's the first DB, to ever have intercepted Aaron Rodgers twice in the same game at Lambeau Field. So this guy's no chump. Janoris Jenkins was an all-pro in 2016. That's nice depth. I mean, it's much more established depth than Kadar Hallman was, right? So that's why Jenkins is in the building. It insulates the 49ers cornerback room. Yes, he's past his prime. He's 34 years old. He was available on the street, but it does make the 49ers better at that cornerback position. So it does shore up that DB spot with the losses of Mosley and Verrett. I think that to me is obvious. And now we see what Deommodore Lenoir is all about. Can Deommodore Lenoir operate in the pressure cooker? Didn't have a great game last week. I thought that was a bad PI call against him. We know that Charvarius Ward is a really good football player, but you're only as good as your worst cornerback. So what's Deommodore Lenoir going to bring to the table here for the 49ers? he's going to be really tested by Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and this Dolphins offense. And if that test doesn't go well, then you have to start kicking the tires on other options. And the 49ers do have Janoris Jenkins on their practice squad right now as a potential flex up. Does Brunskill playing over Burford make the offensive line better all around? Yes. I think Brunskill is a lot like Jimmy Garoppolo in that when Garoppolo came in week 2, the 49ers offense got better, right? The offense is better with Garoppolo than Trey Lance, just like the offensive line is better with Brunskill rather than Spencer Burford. It's not as simple as that, though, when you look at the 49ers team building strategy. They want to give Burford time to develop just like they wanted Lance time to develop so that Burford would exceed Brunskill's efficiency just like they wanted Lance to exceed Garoppolo's efficiency. However, Lance got hurt, so he never had that chance this year. So you readjust your plans midway through. That happens when you're in a middle of a competitive season where chaos is bound to happen. But with Burford right now, I mean, Burford's getting better, I think, by the week. Burford has been developing. They're happy with him. But with this low ankle sprain right now, he can't practice. He didn't practice on Wednesday. We'll see if he's back out there on Thursday. But either way, he's missed a day of practice, and you have a trusted commodity in Daniel Brunskill, who might have a lower ceiling than Spencer Burford, but does give you that higher floor right now. So for the time being, the 49ers have that offensive line depth to absorb the Burford injury. They've already actually been rotating between Burford and Brunskill. Stevie is still mad about the holding call on Kittle that took away the touchdown last week. That was tough. Kittle was not happy about that either. You know, somebody said this the other day. It's not no matter what. That everybody's talking about, oh, you got to take advantage of Lance's rookie deal. Bosa needs to get paid, all this and all that. No matter what is the trap that people fell into this past year. That Jimmy's gone no matter what. He won't be back in 2022. There's a lot of stuff that can happen that could bring Jimmy Garoppolo back. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that certainly can happen is the 49ers winning the Super Bowl, to where you start, if that happens, you throw out this, oh, we need to take advantage of a rookie deal out the window. If you win a Super Bowl and your quarterback is a big part of it, and, it's Jimmy Garoppolo has been a big part of the 49ers' success so far this year, you stop worrying about these little minute details like rookie deal windows and how do we move this around. No, you just pay your quarterback. That's just really the truth of the matter, because people go through the desert for a long time, yearning, striving to win a championship. And if that championship comes, then you rearrange the deck chairs to make it work so you can try to run it back. That's what's going to happen. So saying no matter what, I think just pushes away the very real possibility of the 49ers winning their way into keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. And they've been close already twice with him at quarterback, right? So you can't say that the third time can't be the charm, because that might end up being the case. And yeah, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo also loves his teammates. He loves the brotherhood on the team. He might be willing to if it's a bidding war, to take a contract the 49ers can better fit into their salary cap. I'm not sure. It's too far away. Let's talk about the Dolphins instead. Mostert did practice today, so I do think that he will be playing this weekend. I do think it's possible that Armstead plays this weekend on a pitch count, probably even likely based on the fact that he's coming off of an injury that has kept him out for a couple months now. The thing is that the 49ers would, if this was going to happen, the 49ers would have to become a better running team. Jimmy costs too much. They're 100% going with Lance next year. How do we know what Jimmy Garoppolo is going to cost next year? Again, it's not going to be a cost thing if there's enough success on the field. But this is why I don't want to talk about this right now. I don't know why I keep on bringing up questions about this. This is a situation where we just have to wait and see what happens to see what the parameters are. I don't think that Janoris Jenkins is going to play this week, and I don't think you pick a guy up off the street and play him right away unless there's a big injury situation. And as right now, As of right now, that is not the case. Charles Amenahu tweeted to Mostert. Let me go look. We can put that up on the screen. 1 second. Let's see what Charles Amenahu said. What did Charles Amenahu say to Raheem Mostert? Did he tag him? Or have I already seen this? Because I don't see it right now. Oh, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't. He said, someone thinking they're going to run on our defense is funny. That's what Charles Amenahu said on November 28th. So, I mean, it was good smack talk. I enjoy good smack talk. It's like preparing for a boxing match. You know, it spices up the proceedings before the game, makes the game feel like it's bigger. And I'm all for that because this is a hell of a showdown between the 49ers and the Dolphins that we have on tap. All right, guys, big article coming on the 49ers defense tomorrow. I got to get going. Subscribe to The Athletic, obviously, Twitter, at Lombardi himself. Those of you who are new, welcome to our 2022 49ers coverage. But join up on all these channels. The Athletic, subscribe there, subscribe to this, and be ready for the big piece on the 49ers defense tomorrow, comparing the 2019 and 2022 units. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.